For this intermediate level challenge, we've got quite a lot of different skills mixed in. So let's take a look at them. So first of all, we've got our online and our in-store orders. So if we just take a look at those two inputs, then we can see we've got our sales timestamp, our ID, and our product from our online orders. And for our in-store orders, we see we've got our sales date, our store ID, and product ID. So very similar data structures. So in those instances, we decide that that's probably a good idea to union those two together. So that's what we do here in a union step. So something that happens with this particular example is that our sales timestamp and sales date, we know them to be the same field, so I've merged them together here. But if I just separate them out quickly, then this is how they come into the union step. So you just need to make sure that you drag your sales date on top of your sales timestamp, or highlight both of them and say merge these fields. Either way, it's going to then create for us a sales date or sales timestamp field. Now, I think that I have been referring to this as the sales timestamp throughout the rest of my flow. So I'm just going to separate that out again and make it be the sales timestamp instead. So I drop the sales date on top of the sales timestamp. It keeps the sales timestamp name that way. Okay, and then for our store, before at the start of the union, we don't have a store field in our online orders, so we just want to rename these nulls to be online. So just double click in there, type in online, and that creates for us a cleaned up data set to work with going forwards. Okay, so we have our product ID here, and we want to replace that with our product ID, so our product name, sorry, from here. And then we want to be able to split out our bar or liquid from here so that we have a field for the product type. So you just go to split values, do a custom split on the dash, and just take the first part. We don't care about the size of the product for this challenge. So there we go. That's the changes that I've applied in this step. So now we have our 4 fields, our product type, our store, our ID for those sales, and the sales timestamps. Now we want to know when the next sale happens. So I'm just going to show you an example quickly for bars of soap sold in Lewisham. We see that their sales ID aren't necessarily consecutive numbers. So for example, we're missing the numbers 1 to 9 here. We're missing the number 13, for example. So it's not just a simple case of if we're joining on the next ID to see when the next sale happened. It's more that we need to join on any ID that is greater than that current ID to be able to work out when the next sale happened. Okay, so we just added a clean step and then join it back onto itself, and we're saying that our ID from this next sale, so from the grey area, should be greater than our current ID. So that's just going to bring on all of the IDs later, all the later sales to that row. And we want to make sure that we're joining on store and product type. We can see that we're excluding 6 fields here, and those 6 fields that are getting excluded, we see that we're not having, basically it's from this side that we're interested in, which ones aren't coming through from our blue. And these are all of our final sales, so we're not going to have a sale after this in our data set, so that's why they're not being included. Okay, so we're just going to remove some additional fields to remove some complication there to keep our data set simple to work with, and then we're just going to work out what I was referring to as sales date rather than sales timestamp. That's irritating. So what I need to do in order to change that up, but they're both called sales timestamp, it's fine. I'll just change my calculated field here to be sales timestamp. There we go. And then that gets rid of that error there. Okay. So all that I've done in that calculation is I'm doing a date diff in minutes between sales timestamp and sales timestamp -1. And then I'm filtering that to remove any of the negative values because it told us in the challenge that this was an error. Okay, so now if I look at a particular ID, say for example, if we go with our bar Lewisham and number 10, so our ID number 10 for bar Lewisham, then you can see that we have like 1,000 odd rows, sorry, 139 rows for that. So it's all the sales that came after that that have been joined onto it. And now we just want to know what was the next sale. So we can see that the next sale is going to be the minimum number of minutes away from that, so 60. So we're just going to use an aggregate step to say for each of our IDs, for each of our stores and product types, what's the minimum number of minutes that it took to get to the next sale. So that just means what was the next sale rather than what was the next sale 3 hours later, for example. And then we want to do for each product type and store the average mins to the next sale. And then we just round that to 1 decimal place using a calculated field here. And we rename it. And then we get rid of any additional fields and we're happy. That is our finished final output for this challenge. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you enjoyed that and learned something new. So thanks very much for watching.